Life is not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself.
I had to invent a guy.
See, most people believe they are stuck.
I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering.
They believe they can never change.
You know you could be the one if you really wanted to, right? Only thing that's gonna cause you to lose is your mentality.
But the cool thing about life is that at any moment, at any time, you can decide, you know what? I'm going to use this winter to take control of my life.
We all fall down in life. The question is, who gets back up?
I'm going to think new thoughts.
You go after and you give it all you have. If you lose, at least you tried.
Implement new habits.
I failed. It's 10 times more of a man than someone said, what if?
And shape a new identity.
Because what if never went to the arena?
And see, that's why if you are serious about reinventing yourself this winter arc, there's only one thing you need to do, and that's fix your mentality. Why is that important? Well, if you don't change your mental framework, it's pointless to even set any goals or new routines, because you will always end up in that loop of wanting to improve, but then quitting. Like, I see all these people online saying, I'm gonna change my life this winter arc, but I don't think they will. And that's simply because they are trying to improve externally instead of going internally and changing the most important asset we have, and that's our mind. And see, I used to be that person. I'd be so motivated to set myself these new goals and routines, like waking up early to go and work out, but when the time came to actually do it, that motivation would suddenly be gone and I'd somehow manage to hit a 2-hour snooze button. And I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, but when I wouldn't stick to what I'd planned for myself and instead slept in, I would end up feeling so frustrated with myself. But thankfully all that changed when I stopped looking at things externally to improve myself and instead went internally and changed my mindset. Because as the famous quote goes, to change your life, you have to change yourself. And to change yourself, you have to change your mindset. Because really think about it. It's not your motivation that consistently gets you up on them cold, dark, winter mornings at 6 AM. No, it comes down to your mentality. It comes down to, are you able to follow through with your actions despite how you feel? It really just comes down to, how bad do you want to succeed and how strong is your mind?
If you put your head down and lock in on the vision, how could you not win?
Because see, there are two types of mindsets. The fixed mindset and the growth mindset. A person with a fixed mindset thinks, I can't do it, I'm not talented enough, and I can't try because I'll fail. But I found that to really reinvent yourself, you need to hold the second mindset, and that's the growth mindset. A person with a growth mindset thinks, I can accomplish anything if I work hard enough at it. They see opportunity in every failure, and where most people see challenges, they see a chance to grow. Because the thing is, we have the choice to either perceive things with a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. But I found that by holding a growth mindset, you give yourself back the power. Take the mentality of Sisyphus, for example. In Greek mythology, he was a king that was sentenced to a life of misery. His punishment was that every day, for all of eternity, he would have the grueling task of pushing this boulder up a hill just for him to reach the top and have the boulder roll back down, taking him with it. But see, the fascinating thing I found about this story was that at no time did Sisyphus quit. At no time did he ever think of giving up. Every day, despite the rock rolling down the hill, he was still able to get up with no complaints and push that rock back up the hill once again. And honestly, just reading that makes me feel fatigued. But what's interesting is that where most people would see this as a life of intense misery, this French philosopher guy Camus, I probably butchered his name, but he disagreed with that take and instead said, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. And right now you're probably like, hold up, how could a guy who has to go through that much torture each day be happy? Well, just listen to this amazing perspective from Camus that really made me understand the power of a growth mindset. See, in his opinion, Sisyphus was not actually an eternal victim, but instead a hero. Because he said, the moment you take control of that rock and start pushing it again, that's when you become the hero of your story. Meaning in life, there's always going to be setbacks and moments of failure, but are you going to decide to encounter them moments with a fixed mindset of defeat, or are you going to decide to attack them head on with a growth mindset like Sisyphus? Thinking, I know I failed, but everyone who's ever been successful has had to fail, because you cannot succeed in life without failing, and failure is what allows growth to occur. And honestly, one of the best things I did to change my mentality was to develop the habit of starting, because I don't know know if you also agree, but like when I think back to every hard task I've done in my life, I've always found the hardest part is just overcoming that resistance to start. And recently the thing that I've realized is the more you overcome that resistance, the more your mentality starts to change, because you start to build the habit of being able to start into things despite how you feel. Like I heard Alex Hormozy say something that some people may find controversial, but I don't care because to me it made so much sense. He said in the past, when he was researching the Olympic weightlifting teams, he discovered that no matter how bad they felt, it had no impact on their performance in the gym. And yeah, he obviously wasn't talking about a bad injury. He was instead referring to their mental state. And he then went on to basically say, so if pain is irrelevant to performance, why even worry about it in the first place? You should just do what needs to be done in spite of how you feel. Because he says, when you are growing in a business, it's very painful. When you're stagnating in a business and you don't know what to do, it's very painful. And when you're declining and you also don't know what to do, it's very painful. Which means that if all conditions of reality are painful, then it just means pain is a signal that we are alive. And so when thinking about that, rather than saying pain is a problem, it's just a signal that I'm breathing, and then it becomes irrelevant. And the reason that really resonated with me was because recently, me and one of my close friends started doing a challenge where we get into an ice bath as soon as we wake up at 6 in the morning. And pause, it's a separate ice bath, okay? But every morning for the last few weeks, I'm not gonna lie, I woke up terrified of getting in this thing. There was even one morning, I'm gonna be honest, I was weak-minded and I lay in bed for an extra hour to avoid it. And that's because my brain didn't want me to get into the cold water, so it created this resistance by telling me it's going to be freezing and it's too cold to get in it this early. But I found that by me repeatedly overcoming this resistance every morning and doing it despite how I feel, the stronger it's made my ability to just overcome the resistance of starting things in all areas of my life. And that's why I think being able to start into things you don't want to do is just a habit that you can build. Because I found that the more you can confront resistance, the easier it just becomes to confront future resistance, because your mentality grows stronger. So to put this into practice, find an activity that you find difficult to start. It could be a workout, a cold shower, a deep work block, anything. And then just repeatedly do it each day so that you build this habit of overcoming resistance. And look, the reason doing hard things each day is so important for changing your mentality is because it literally rewires your brain. See, around 8 months ago, I was listening to an Andrew Huberman podcast with David Goggins, and he mentioned that we all have this area in the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And you gotta cut me some slack if I didn't pronounce that name right, but he explained that this is the area in your brain that is responsible for your willpower, and the only way you can grow this area and make your willpower stronger is to consistently do hard things you don't want to do, because by doing those hard things, this area grows larger, resulting in an increase in willpower. And this increase just makes it so much easier to resist temptations and do hard tasks. But the thing is, this is an area that you have to consistently train, because Huberman mentioned that if you begin to give in to temptation and avoid doing hard things, this area of the brain grows smaller, leading to an eventual decrease in willpower. So as I mentioned before, every day just set yourself one hard task to complete that makes you feel uncomfortable while doing it. And this will allow you to grow your willpower, which ultimately will give you a stronger mentality. Because as Eric Thomas says, to get to the next level, you gotta learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I found that when going through this process of changing my mentality, I had to change my identity, because I couldn't remain the same person and expect different results. You see, I had to start acting like the person I wanted to become, and I had to start believing I was capable of achieving great things. How did I do that? Well, I had to think of what would the best version of me do in every situation. Let's say my alarm goes off at 6 AM and I want to hit the snooze button. Well, I don't hit it and just get up, because that's what the best version of me would do. And think of yourself for a second. Let's say it's 6 PM in the evening and your mind is telling you that you're too tired to hit that workout because you've had a long day at work and you should just leave it until tomorrow. Think to yourself, in that situation, what would the best version of you do? He would forget how he feels and go anyway, right? And that's how we need to act. Whenever we're in a situation where we don't want to do something, we need to think to ourselves, what would the best version of me do right now in this situation? And then just do that. Because by doing that, over time, you will eventually grow into that person. As James Clear says, every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. And lastly, you need to start believing in your abilities. For this winter, and actually not just this winter, but honestly for the rest of your life, as cringe as I get it may sound, but you need to carry the mentality that I can achieve anything in life if I truly put my mind to it and work hard enough at it. Because what else is the alternative? To walk around thinking you're not good enough and you're not capable enough of achieving great things? Nah, I refuse to do that, because I've realized over this last year just how much you are able to grow when you put God first and truly work as hard as you can to improve yourself and improve in your goals. And remember, as much as this winter arc is a great starting place and an overall great time for everyone to improve themselves, we aren't going to be just grinding in the winter. To really succeed and improve ourselves, every day has to be an arc. Like every day, my aim is just to get 1% better. And like, of course, there's days I slip up because I'm human, and I don't want my videos to come across like I'm this perfect human being, because obviously I'm not. So don't be mad at yourself when you fail.
Just get up the next day and try to give it your best again.
Because the key is to be consistent. And look, if you're wondering why I haven't uploaded in over a month, it's because I've just been trying to learn new things and improve myself so that I can bring out more valuable content. But I'm going to be uploading consistently again, so make sure to subscribe, and I'd love if you'd leave a comment down below on the best insight you've learned over this last month, and I'll pin the comment of my favorite one. As always, through hard work we grow. Peace.